I don't think I do it
But Arsenal started like a house on fire. Signing number 2 for this new era. It's Judgment Day, people. Yeah! What did your boy tell you? It was never in doubt. Never in doubt. Good evening indeed, good evening indeed. Now then, people, and welcome back to the Just Joe Football Show. Enjoying the late show on my night shifts, good man, that's what it's there for, yeah? Like up the place, please do. We've got loads to get into tonight. Some guff stories, some decent stories, you know what it is. This is where you come on an evening to get your roundup of all the latest Leeds United news. I've just finished watching City versus Brighton. Big up to you, bro. Joe says, big fan of this show. If only we could be run like Brighton. Just confirmed Europa League football. Here it is. Here he is, morning from Australia. Boom. More night shifts than me, Joe. Yeah, man, definitely. Self-proclaimed hardest working man in the YouTube game. We're going to get stuck into loads of stories, loads of news. First of all, right, before we do that, actually, smash a like on the video, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, hit the notification bell, and all that jazz, yeah? Could be a long one. As I said, there's quite a lot to get stuck into today, but all's good in the hood. Right, okay, so you'll have probably seen confirmed that Russell Martin has been confirmed as the new Southampton manager. That, first and foremost, the reason I bring that in, obviously, is just the fact, I know it doesn't really concern us, but obviously Southampton not messing about. There's no issues with regards to ownership. So basically, Jason Wilcock's appointment in there as director of football, I believe, and has then said, right, this is the way we're going to play. Russell Martin was one of the most sought after coaches, really, in terms of the certain brand of football that he was adopting at Swansea. And he has now confirmed and will sign a 3-year deal as the new Southampton head coach. Done and sealed. Contract will also include option for a further year. So that's just something I wanted to bring up, because I know quite a lot of Leeds fans were you know, they liked Russell Martin and seen that as a viable option, but obviously that one now has gone off the table. Over the last couple of hours as well, it's come out via West Ham Central that West Ham have identified Leeds midfielder Jack Harrison as a top target. The vultures are circling, of course they are. I've seen Harvey Barnes linked to Aston Villa. You're going to see this, right? James Ward-Prowse is going to be linked left, right and centre. I believe I've been told that Jack Harrison's release clause is around about 17 million. Obviously, he did take him we did sign him, on a 5-year deal of late, but it does include a relegation release clause, which I believe is around about 17 million. But yeah, West Ham have identified him as a target. If you remember, I said to you yesterday, you know, that West Ham would be a decent option for him. You know, there'll be a host of Premier League clubs that'll look at Jack Harrison for sure, and around about 17 million is a very good price for a player of his quality. So West Ham have identified Jack Harrison as a top target, so that's one to watch. As I said, I think Jack Harrison will be one of the first out of the door, if I'm being totally honest. He'll have many suitors who'll be contacting his agent now as we speak. I'm more than certain of that. What I know's, I did put a tweet out earlier on just to say it quietly, but I don't know if you've seen Ruud van Nistelrooy has left PSV. There's been a falling out between him and the players. I'm not sure why. He's won a couple of trophies. He's been doing really well at PSV. And I also mentioned Michael Carrick. I was like, listen, say it quietly, but I won't mind either of them. And someone said, look, you know, we need to speak about the director of football as well. And I know that the guy, is it Kieran Scott? I think Kieran Scott, who's currently director of football at Middlesbrough. Turns out, and this is big shout out to John Hodgson who told me, because obviously we've been linked as well to Stuart Webber, who's at Norwich currently, but it turns out Kieran Scott was actually recruitment manager at Norwich before he got the director of football role at Middlesbrough. So, it makes sense, really. Stuart Webber, both him and Kieran Scott working together. We've been, linked to both, to be fair, and the fact that you've got Michael Carrick there as well. Whether or not we could go and say, right, we're taking your director of football and your manager, I'm not too sure, but I quite like the idea of Ruud van Nistelrooy. I know there'll be the old schoolers like going, what are you on about, the Man United, etc. But I just want a good manager, someone that's going to play a certain brand of football and get us out of the Championship. But whether or not he'd be willing to drop down to the Championship, having done a decent job at PSV, remains to be seen. But the English football is a big pull, right? It's a big pull. Like Jamie says, in regards to director of football and players, just get the best available. Stuart Webber's actually been talking about Leeds as well. So he was asked about the links to Leeds United, and he did say, they haven't rung. So let's see if they do ring. So I think for me, that's almost like, if you haven't phoned me yet, then get on the phone to me, because I'll be willing to chat to you, because we know that Stuart Webber's a lifelong Leeds fan as well. Jaguar Skill 69 says Stuart Webber made some bad signings at Norwich. Yeah, I think it's gone sour, but it wasn't prior to that, right? It wasn't prior to that. So listen, I'm not going to sit here and profess to know everything about director of footballs, but they need to get the appointment right. And Stuart Webber's worked in the Premier League. I quite like the idea of it is Kieran Scott, isn't it? I'm just making that up. I think it is Kieran Scott. Name escapes me. It is, yeah. Kieran Scott. So it's one to watch, right? It is definitely one to watch. Kate says Webber is as bad as Orta. I mean, she may know more than me. Big shout out Joe Donahue and the folks at the YEP. Joe Donahue put together like a decent article earlier on, basically saying the 10-point summer transfer plan for Leeds United and how they need to go about it. And I think we'll just go through that, and I think it's good to just have a chat about it. So first and foremost, number one, communicate to supporters who owns the football club. I think the 49ers, as soon as Sunday's done, we'll start to hear more, I guess, more concrete news in regards to what's actually happening with the football club. Second, appoint Victor Orta's replacement. Now, we might not even go for a director of football. We might do the two-pronged where you've got head of recruitment and another position in there. So it'd be interesting to see what actually happens. But they need to not be as scattergun as what Victor Orta ended up being at the time. He just had a hard-on for wingers, didn't he? And nowhere else, really. Number three, supplement the scouting structure. So Leeds have lost their lead European scout, Gabby Ruiz, and fellow recruitment staff member Alberto Cordero with Orta's departure. So they're part of his team. So obviously we'll need to bolster that out as well. So it's a little understaffed at present. Leeds United, to be fair, and obviously they've gone with Victor, so you understand that. But that's one thing that really did piss me off, really, with regards to when we brought Jesse in. I'm not his biggest fan, but what they did do is they didn't really support him in terms of bringing in the right members of staff and that. It was all just mad. Like, it was embarrassing. He had Cameron Toshak, the guy from Dortmund. Honestly, it was just all a bit mad, all a bit scattergun. So, look, we have head of emerging talent Craig Dean and club scout Alex Davis, who are at the club currently, but outside of that, there isn't anyone. So once you've got your owner, your director of football, you then sort out the scouting network. Joe goes on to say, appoint a manager. Obviously, we're going to talk about the links to Brendan Rodgers, this chat of Potter. I throw my names in the hat as I go, see if Ruud van Nistelrooy is willing to come to the Championship. We know that Russell Martin's gone to Southampton, who would have been a viable option, I think, had he have still been at Swansea. If we didn't have this issue with the ownership, I think we might have gone there. So, we have to get the manager right. For me, like before, I've been on record as saying like, just Big Sam, etc. But I want us to play a certain brand of football, and we have a chance to reset, to rebuild, and go again, right? And look, like people keep saying, look what Burnley did, and they're right, So maybe there is a big, massive overhaul needed. I don't think Tony Mowbray, no one like that, man. I want to get someone who's going to play a certain brand. Carlos Corberán potentially as well, but he seems to have gone off the boil a little bit. The article goes on to say prioritise player sales. We know there's going to be a lot of exits. Mark Roca being one, Rodrigo being one, Melier being one. There'll be many more. Robin Koch for sure. There's 4 already. You're then looking at, will McKennie will go back anyway, but there is hope within the club that we can keep a few of the star turns. And I think that assign a budget, that's fair to say. It'll be interesting to see what the 49ers give us. Draw up a list of transfer targets and then contract renewals and extensions. I think, do you give Forshaw another year, or do you say no thank you? Do you extend Joel Robles' contract so you don't have to go out and buy another keeper? That could be an option. So there's loads to consider. There is Rodrigo's not staying, Philip. I don't think. I think he's going to go, mate. This is what we were chatting about yesterday as well, right? And I think it's assessing returning loan players. So we know out of the club at the minute, you've got, as it says here in Joe's piece, you've got Charlie Creswell, Lewis Bate, Joe Gelhardt, Poveda, James Costa. You've then got the likes of Shackleton. There's loads out there, but who out of them do you say, right, okay, we're going to give you a chance? We're going to give you a chance. I think Charlie Creswell should be kept in and around the first team for me. I think Lewis Bate for sure. I'm not sure on Gelhardt, which sounds a bit mad. I'm genuinely not sure on Gelhardt because we have Sonny Perkins and we also have Mateo Joseph coming through. I don't know if we massively over-egg the potential of Joe Gelhardt, or does a manager come in and he's able to use him correctly? We'll have to wait and see. Assign backroom roles. Again, this is one thing that I said just a second ago. It really pissed me off. Like, as much as I dislike Jesse, it was a bit amateurish, the people that we were employing behind the scenes. But again, is that a byproduct of Jesse as well, in terms of, did he really ask for certain staff members? He wanted Armas, didn't he? And then he didn't want to come, and then we got him and then sacked him, and he was on gardening leave and all this sort of stuff. So there's Joe Donohue's 10-point plan, and I think it was decent to have a chat about that. But first and foremost, obviously, we have to arrange get the ownership sorted, don't we? That's one thing that's needs to happen, and needs to happen quick. To be fair, Graham Smith did a Q&A on the YEP, and he was asked specifically that question. Let me just find the question. Does the takeover happen before July, was put to him. I know someone just asked me in the comments there as well. So let's just see what Graham had to say on that. So he was asked specifically, does the takeover happen before July? And he says it has to, really, doesn't it? The transfer window opens on the 14th of June. I mean, what are we on now, folks? We're on the 25th of May. 25th of May tomorrow, right? So you've got what? About 3 weeks? About 3 weeks before the transfer window opens? It's not a long time. 3 weeks before the transfer window opens. And the first thing that's going to happen is Leeds are going to lose players, because certain players have release clauses that as soon as they're matched, we have to let them go to the negotiating table over a contract. Do you know what I mean? So it's mad to think only in 3 weeks transfer window is going to open, and I believe we will be a championship club. So therefore, there's going to be loads of work that needs to be done. So like Graham Smith says, it has to happen before July. If Leeds don't know who the owner will be until July, then they presumably will have missed 2 weeks of the market, which isn't great. We want to make sure if we're bringing in a new manager, that's going to play a certain style of football, they need to have as much time as possible with them, right? As much time as possible with them. Goes on to say perhaps the boardroom parties could get their heads together and agree on an appointment when it comes to transfer decisions, so that person can at least begin working on a rebuild plan. But that would require both Rodgers and the 49ers to be on the same page about the recruitment model. I tell you what, I am quite interested to see, because we know that Victor Orta has been the one calling the shots with regards to the recruitment model and the style of play and how we're going to go about it. It's going to be interesting to see what the 49ers thought process is. How they're going to say, right, okay, we're going to go with this coach and we're going to give him, he's going to run upshot over it all with help of a director of football. It's just going to be interesting how it's going to actually pan out for Leeds United. Graham goes on to say they would all have to be happy that their appointment would be the right fit, regardless of whether a takeover happens. I'm not sure I can see that, though. So the best bet is to just get on and get the deal done. And an announcement as soon as after the final game of the season would be ideal. It's the least supporters deserve. And I think he's bang on the money with that. And I expect an announcement. I genuinely think maybe not Monday with it being bank holiday Monday, but Tuesday we'll have an announcement to say, do you know what? Poof, we move. Let's have a look. So he was asked about Rodgers. I know we don't need. I'm just scanning through some of the questions. Just seeing what else is on there for us to go through, because there's some wild ones about Labradors and stuff. This is quite an interesting one because. So it says here, realistically, who do you think we keep for the next year out of the obvious candidates you'd want to keep? So Leeds have come out now and said, both to Phil here and to Graham Smith, by the sounds of it, we touched on it yesterday, Leeds say that in the event of relegation, they will try their damnedest to keep the likes of Tyler Adams, Willie Gnonto and Max Fober. I was told Max Fober has an £11 million release clause. It might not be true, but that's what I was told. But with Adams, he goes on to say, I suppose it's a case of reassuring him that a decent enough team will be built around him to ensure this is a one-year championship detour. As for Gnonto, if his agent is not sounding out City at our clubs, I would be astounded. We know that he is, right? Because we keep hearing stories. It's Lazio, it's Inter, it's Juve, it's every bloody Italian club going is wanting Gnonto, apparently. So he's Premier League ready. We've seen that, and he's more than good enough for one of the European top flights. The conversation there might need to be to guarantee game time and a high degree of importance at the club as a player who could tear the second tier apart. And that's we know that, right? If we manage to keep hold of Adams, if we manage to keep hold of Gnonto, Graham Smith goes on to speak about Somerville as well. He said, his best mate Somerville would be a very good option in the Championship, and yet I'd also expect his agent to be casting around to see if there's a better deal to be had at a higher level. Again, some may look at Somerville. If Somerville was to go, would Gnonto want to also? They are joint at the hip after all, but that's also, if you manage to keep them two who have such a close relationship, and then also you have Tyler Adams in there, it has the makings of a very good and very exciting championship team. Like, if you manage to have Gnonto and Somerville on either wing in the championship, they absolutely kill it. I'm sorry, they do. You've got Jack Clark doing well at Sunderland, getting to a playoff semi-final. Somerville and Gnonto are streets ahead of these. I do think if we can keep players of that ilk, because they're on long-term deals, they don't have release clauses, and you can sell this, it being only a 1 year detour, as Graham put it, like we sold it to Calvin. Give us 1 more year. You know what I mean? Give us one more year and we'll let you go. That could be a similar sort of conversation. That could be a similar sort of conversation. So it'd be nice. He goes on to say, Vobra is one I could see staying on and bringing leadership and quality to the back line. Beyond those three, there would have to be cast iron arguments for keeping players both in the financial and footballing sense. So we'll wait and see. Let's have a look. He was then asked, what's the chances of us keeping hold of Gnonto, Somerville and Adams? And he said, I've answered this elsewhere, but the wording illustrates a sad picture of a fan base, or at least a large section of it, with no faith left to muster. Survival is still possible. It's very difficult to imagine the scenario that allows it to happen. And he's not really answered that question, but yeah, I mean, we're going down, aren't we? I don't think anyone thinks we're not. I mean, if you do, you're a brave soul. I think we're done, aren't we? Right, let's have a look. Brownie89 says, is it likely Leeds will go back in for Iriola? I think Jamie Dixon's mentioned him a couple of times as our new manager. He was clearly first choice when Marsh was sacked. And it was Victor Orta's first choice, right? I said this yesterday as well. Orta's no longer here. Leeds is a huge club, even in the Championship, so the project might still capture his attention, but I'm not sure the club will be so keen to specifically revisit the shortlist Orta worked on. Definitely not. And this is a great point. They won't lack candidates if the project is plausible and sensible. If we do have a new ownership, right, the 49ers come in, they say to a prospective coach, maybe Brendan Rodgers, they say to him, look, we've got guarantees that we're going to keep Gnonto, we're going to keep Somerville, we're going to keep Adams, you're going to keep Vobra, right? The rest, well, some are going to sell, which means you've then got cash to be able to bring in other players. We're going to allow you to take on loans from some of the elite clubs, which I don't think we tapped into well enough personally in previous seasons. You've just to look at James McAtee at Sheffield United, what he's done this season. You look at players like that and say, look, we can get you a few of them. We've got some great youth prospects coming through. Why wouldn't that excite a coach? It's Leeds United at the end of the day, you know, and we are still a massive club. Like, even if we go down, right, okay. So he was asked about Rutter. Is Rutter on the list to stay even in the Championship? He says, Gio Rutter, how must he be feeling? Pretty low, I imagine. I read an article earlier on where apparently he's struggling with his English, etc., and that's not good. It also says, he goes on to say, if any of that noise about him shedding tears upon a reluctant goodbye to Hoffenheim was true, then his mood will not have been helped at all by the way things have worked out at Leeds. He's a very young player who still holds a lot of potential, so there's definitely a way back for him under the right management. There is no way anyone gives you all your money back for him this summer. Perhaps if he isn't quite to a new manager's taste, then a loan back to Germany or his native France would be sensible to allow him to bounce back and prove to everyone that there's a real talent there, one worth investing in. Just going to look back at that, I think, in years' time and say, Clive T, if you don't like what I'm saying, do one, mate. Okay? If you're going to sit there and say, oh, shush, Joe, stop, don't listen. Don't listen. Do you know what I mean? It's just boring, isn't it? You're boring me. You're boring the chat. We'll move on when we get to move on. Yeah? I don't care why you're saying what you're saying, to be honest. I'm reading an article that's done by the Yorkshire Evening Post that have connections to the football club. Do you know what I mean? Let's have a look what else has been said. Right, okay. So I think this is a good point to make. Because obviously I'm the only... Well, Clive, man. Why don't you have a straightener with Graham Smythe? I reckon so. So obviously people are saying the YUP weren't pushing Bielsa out, bro. Come on now. With Leeds without a director of football, are the links to players simply lazy connect the dots stories, or are the actual discussions taking place? Which I think's fair enough, right? I think it's fair enough to chat about because we're talking about transfer window rumours tonight. Do you know what I mean? And he says, we're told the scouting team has still been running in the background, but with no one to lead the project and no certainty of who will own it this summer, what concrete stuff can they actually be working on? This in turn makes me look at any transfer links in an even more sceptical way. So saying, don't think there's any truth to them. What's the likelihood of Rodgers staying in the event of relegation? I don't think, the Sampdoria stuff in particular makes me think an exit is nigh, and the 49ers are said to be keen on a takeover regardless of Sunday's outcome. I genuinely think on Monday or Tuesday we'll start to hear things straight off the bat. Let's see. And he was asked about soap stars and that. See if there's any more questions. Ash says, if you was on the moon and you started to play Here Comes the Money by Naughty by Nature, would the money actually come? I mean, that's just Ash for you, innit? That's Juan Martinez for you. Someone asked him, do you think Jesse would have kept us up? Maybe the way... Nah. I mean, that's by the Bielsa stand, who, by the way, the Bielsa stand came for me for backing Bielsa, and his name's called the Bielsa stand. I never get it. Let's have a look. This is just towards the back end of the article. I think this is a fair thing to get stuck into. So what can we expect from the 49ers enterprise? So he said, if Parag Marath is going to be a key figure at Ellen Road, then I hope with full control he will be a little bit more forthcoming. When talking about Leeds, he's a slick talker. They're clearly a slick operation with big ideas on match day experience, but this is Leeds, this is football, and getting the culture right will be absolutely vital. I'm not expecting free spending summers and wild splurges on signings. I think it will be a measured expenditure. In the Premier League, we could expect Ellen Road expansion, but in the Championship, that is surely going to have to wait. Yeah, this is what we were just chatting about just a second ago. Ultimately, a lot of it is unknown. What recruitment model do they favour? How will they communicate to fans? Who will become the face of the board? Yeah, it'll be interesting to see. I'd just like to see the current board, all the current board, for me, need to just be gone. Like, when I say the current board, I mean, like, get rid of Angus, get rid of Rads, get rid of Victor, get rid of James Mooney, get rid of them all. Yeah, no, it's all love, Bielsa stand. It's all love, bro. But you're clearly asking that question because you believed that Jesse was going to keep us up, right? Which is just, it's mad. Let's have a look. It was quite ironic that Charlie Creswell will probably be our key centre-back next year, with the club pretty much deemed him surplus in January. How close was he to leaving? From memory, it was considered. There was definitely interest. Thankfully, it only ever came to a loan. The picture at centre-half will need clearing up straight away. Robin Koch will be among those I expect to depart. Diego Llorente will go. Charlie Creswell could slot in next to Liam Cooper or Max Fober. I mean, it would be nice, wouldn't it? It would be nice. Like, let's hope that next season we do have like Charlie Creswell at the back. That'd be class. Charlie Creswell alongside Max Fober, if you like. Get a new left back in, yeah. Right back, I'm okay with Ayling. I know people disagree. We need a brand new midfield. Hopefully, Adam's anchoring it. Then you have Non-Tone Somerville and a new striker. 20 goal a season, 30 goal a season Championship striker. We don't want too much, do we? We don't want too much, but yeah, let's hope we can. I'm excited, I'm excited for the summer. I am, is what it is. But there's the two YEP articles. Clive, are you okay now? Clive, we've moved on from YEP, all right? We're back now, okay? I know you're the only one who cares about Leeds United, so we're back, okay? Jesus, man. Nuira, get rid of Ayling. Maybe. If you can convince Drama to stay, then yeah. bring it, but we'll see. So listen, we'll start with some of the articles then. Some good, some bad. We shall see what's being said. Right, okay, so let's jump into some of these articles. As I say, not all of them are amazing, but that's just rehashing what I've just read. Okay, so Paul Robinson, former goalkeeper of Leeds United, of course, he believes that Sunderland might come in for a bid for Joe Gelhardt. But listen, these articles, right, when they're put together, I once did something similar. So what will happen is you'll be asked questions by a person, and then they will create an article on the back of it. So it says here, Sunderland to lodge Joe Gelhardt bid, right? And you're like, oh, really? And then when you actually see it, it's Paul Robinson just predicting it. So Paul Robinson thinks they will. I don't think they will. I don't think he's had an amazing time at Sunderland. I don't think he was the right profile of striker to take over. Is it Ellie Sims who went back to Everton? So yeah, I don't know if he'll be loaned out from Leeds again. If we'll look to move him on, it's going to be interesting to see. But Paul Robinson does say, I think both clubs will probably try Sunderland for Gelhardt and Luton for Drama. I think if Luton go up, then there's definitely a sell there, isn't there? I think Luton. I mean, it does break my heart to think that Luton are going to be buying a player off us, like in terms of. It just pains me that we're going to be a championship club. Do you know what I mean? It's mad. It's mad. Here's another article for you as well that was doing the rounds earlier on. Hwang Hee-chan. He's going to be sold by Wolves. Obviously, they've got issues with financial fair play. Leeds United were linked to Hwang Hee-chan, I think more so due to him previously working under Jesse Marsh, and obviously he was used to that Red Bull style of play, had a good time of it under Marsh. But basically this article and Sun journalist Alan Nixon just saying, look, Leeds United are unlikely to go back in for Hwang Hee-chan, which I think we would all expect anyway. I don't expect Hwang Hee-chan to be dropping down to the Championship either. And to be honest, neither would I want him, which might sound mad when you consider that I was banging the drum back in January, but I feel a little bit vindicated for that, because we ended up going for Rutter when really we'd have been better getting a Shea. We'd have been better getting a Hwang Hee-chan. It's true. They'd have at least played minutes. They might have got the odd goal. Unfortunately, Rutter didn't get any minutes, hardly, because he's just not ready, or maybe his head's not in it, whatever it is. And here's an article, actually, that was done by Gio Rutter. So Mike McGrath tweeted out earlier on to say that he's had quite a difficult time of it. So he writes for the Telegraph, and obviously he might have heard bits on the grapevine. I think with someone like Big Sam in charge, more gets released because he'll be willing to release it. We know what kind of character is and all that sort of stuff. Yeah, so apparently there's been glimpses of his skill when in training, but that's not translated into games. He struggled with English, according to this article, despite teammates trying a little French to him around the training ground. He's had Melier close by as well to obviously help with that. But it just feels like, to me, it's just one of them that's not worked. Do you know what I mean? It just feels like, to me, it's one of them that's not worked, and it's probably not going to work. And I think we probably do loan him out. I think we do loan him out to a European club, and with a view to a perm if he goes well. Do you know what I mean? I'm just reading some of the comments there. But yeah, the Clive, man, no one's censoring you. What are you on about? All right, okay. Clive will thrive on your demise. Clive, man, there's a lot of love for you in the chat. There's a lot of love for you in the chat, mate. So don't worry about it. Why do you not think Rutter will be good in the Championship? I'm just not sure if the move's going to work out. Just with some of the stories, obviously, maybe, I mean, he seems homesick. You know, there was this rhetoric that Nonto was homesick. He seems homesick. I'm not judging Rutter. There's clearly a player there. I just don't think he's going to fulfill his potential at Leeds United. I might be wrong. A new manager might come in the door, take a look at him and say, yeah, this kid, I'm going to get a tune out of him. The issue we've had is, obviously, he's had 3 coaches. He's come from Hoffenheim. He's a young lad. He's been doing well. He's not really wanted to leave by the sound of it. He's been in tears. He's then come over. He doesn't speak the language. He's only really got Melier here. He's left his family home, and then he's had 3 coaches. And if we're being totally honest, they're all different, and they're all, I mean, Jesse's terrible. Javi's not much better. And Big Sam plays a certain brand that clearly doesn't fit into what Rutter wants. If you have a look at, like, where did I hear it earlier on? It was on a podcast anyway, and they were making the point that if you look at the players that are playing under Big Sam, it's all the experienced heads. It's all the experienced heads. Forshaw's getting minutes. All these players that are of a certain experience, they're not then going to say, he's not going to throw Rutter in the mix. So it may well be that a new manager comes in and it totally turns around, but we'll wait and see. I don't think there'll be many that won't take him on loan with a view to a perm if he was to go across Europe potentially. Sticking with we'll go to midfielders actually now. So obviously this broke yesterday. Mark Roca, Europa League club Real Betis want to sign him. Obviously he's not been great. I think I seen Connor do sort of like a video earlier on that he posted out on Twitter just to get people's general opinion. Some are massive on him. Listen, I was a big fan of him at points, but like Connor said on his video as well, like he's not been good. But I think people are just saying he's woeful. I seen someone say he's the worst midfielder since, I can't remember the name now. Who was it they used? Oh, Unino Kane, that was it. But I just think there is clearly a player in Roca, but it's just not been seen at Leeds United, unfortunately. And a lot of that could be down to the brand of football, for sure. You don't move to Bayern Munich if you're a bad footballer. He's come over to the Premier League. There was talk of him maybe getting back into the Spain squad. And listen, he's never going to flourish in a team that's fighting for relegation. Is it? You know what I mean? And that's the issue that we have. So, yeah, he has had a tricky campaign, and it looks like Real Betis will be willing to take him back. He had that good game against Forest, but I think at that time Forest was so bad. I don't know what changed for Forest, but they were so bad. And then they just went on a thing. But like I say, yeah, Mark Roca hasn't really worked for him. So Real Betis are keen on a move, and it looks like maybe talks have already happened with his agent, etc. I think Mark Roca would probably favour a move back to Spain as well. Let's be honest. So he could move back home after what was a bit of a nightmare year at Leeds United, if we're being totally honest. I think there's only really Tyler Adams and Vorba really that have worked out of any of the new signings. So yeah, he left Espanyol to join Bayern in 2020, and in 2024 looks like he will he'll return to Spain, and Real Betis looks like the most viable option for him at this time. But listen, at least the good thing is some of our players are already gone. Do you know what I mean? Like, you know, Harrison's going to go. At least we're not going down and be thinking, oh, we can't shift these players on. The only players we're going to struggle to shift on is the ones like Patrick Bamford, Luke Ayling, Adam Forshaw, Liam Cooper. That's why I'd say you keep them about the place. Personally, that's just my opinion. I know that I know people don't agree with that sentiment, right? But they're great squad options. They have experience in the Championship. Yeah, I'm not by any stretch of the imagination saying Bamford should be starting, Forshaw should be starting, Cooper should be starting. For me, we should be looking at maybe Strauch and Creswell, or Creswell and Voba. Forshaw out of contract, yeah, fair enough. I don't want Horizon and Rodrigo to go either, but they will. In terms of Luke Ayling, I don't mind him starting at right back. You know I'm a massive fan of Luke Ayling. Unfortunately, Drama's going to leave. Otherwise, I'd say, right, okay, give Drama the minutes he deserves. But we'll wait and see. But yeah, at least the majority of the players that we need to move on for wage and also bringing in transfer fees will move on. Yeah. You know, so your likes of your Rockers, you know, all these players, they're going to go, which means we're going to bring money into the football club. We're going to trim the wage budget, and we're going to be able to splash that out somewhere else. What about Dallas? I think you keep Stewie D, of course. You keep Stewie D for sure. He's a bit of a utility, a Swiss Army knife of a player. I know he's been injured, so he might come back and not quite be at it, but you keep Stewie D for me. But listen, he broke his leg, didn't we? So we don't know what Stewie D looks like after that injury. Sticking with the Spanish internationals, then, of course, Diego Llorente. Now, Diego Llorente was at Roma, and there was a deal in place to sign him for like 30 million. Apparently, they're saying, listen, we're not going to be paying for him at that price. However, we would still like him at the football club. So it says here that Roma have the option to sign him for 15 million, when his current loan spell comes to an end. Forza Roma claim on the 24th of May that Roma have no intention of paying that amount of money, but are still interested in him. So sporting director Thiago Pinto will return to the table to discuss a return for Llorente after the 30th of June. Furthermore, the City A club sent an opportunity with the dynamic of the deal set to change after Leeds are relegated. Look, I think Diego Llorente moves on for me, and I'm fine with that. I think, okay, we're not going to recoup the 15 million. We'd agreed, whatever fee it was. But if they're going to say, we'll give you 10 million, like Leeds United will take it. You know what I mean? It gets his wages off the books, etc. But when, I forget which podcast I was listening to earlier, but when you think about it, right, I think it might have been the Square Ball. Had we have kept these players about, it could have been a totally different season. Like, we got rid of a lot because of Jesse. So, like, there was Diego Llorente, there was Mateus Click, there was Cody Drama, Creswell, and you just wonder if we didn't have this 18-man squad that we were told was all Bielsa's fault and nothing to do with anyone else, that you wonder if things might have been different, because would Big Sam have used a Diego Llorente? Would he have used a Cody Drama? I don't know. I don't know. Clive's on one again, look. It's not the YUP, it's the Square Ball next. He's coming for them all. So, yeah, Diego Llorente looks like we know he's going to exit, right? But if Roma are going to come in for him, that's news. Even if they're not going to pay what we originally wanted, you can understand they've got more bargaining power now. We're going down. They can come in and say, listen, we'll give you a little bit, we're going to give you some money, but nowhere near that, and we'll probably have to accept it and run. And it is what it is. Let's have a look. So that's just the Real Betis article. Let me just see if I haven't missed anything else. I just want to touch on the last one, which is, of course, the chat about Brendan Rodgers. Lopetegui is chatting about potentially leaving Wolves. Right, okay. This one made me laugh because it's got my man Oscar in. Because a lot of these aggregated sites sometimes take snippets from my YouTube, or they'll take it from others. There's just this one come out now. Oh no, that's a rubbish article, that one. They're not going to do any changes. There's an official article come out about the West Ham links to Jack Harrison. Yeah, the Sun are suggesting that West Ham are one of the teams looking at him. They're also looking at Harvey Barnes. I think them two, if Leicester and Leeds go down, them two will be definitely options for clubs like West Ham, for clubs like Villa. I think they'll genuinely take a look at them. as I said to you yesterday, right, let's have a look at this article then. So obviously this was released in the wake of Phil Hayes' article yesterday where he said that Leeds United are, if they stay up, they try sound out Potter. But if they drop to the EFL, they believe they could convince or would try to convince Brendan Rodgers. I'm not sure. Like, I guess I would ask you now, like, I'm going to put a poll out just to get what everyone's opinion is. Do people think that Rodgers would drop down to the EFL? Like, obviously, I would take him in a heartbeat, but do you think his ego would allow him to drop down to the EFL? I'm not too sure. Get your votes in on that poll. It's just gone out. While I do that, I just want to quickly bring up this super chat. Bradley Dack and Ryan Manning available on freeze. Not Bradley Dack for me, mate. Maybe 5 years ago, 3 years ago. Not now. But Ryan Manning seems like a very viable option. But there's a lot of people saying that he's Premier League bound. So 53% on the poll so far think yes, that Rodgers would drop down to the EFL. I'm not too sure, but would I take him? 100%. Like I said earlier, if you can convince Brendan Rodgers of a project and tell him that you're going to keep Nonto, you're going to keep Somerville, we're going to keep Adams, we're going to bring you in a fresh striker, you're going to have Creswell at the back alongside Vorber, new left back, new right back, some more midfielders. You know what I mean? He might go, yeah, I'm actually happy with that. I'd be up for that. Not only that, he's also got the likes of Archie Gray, who's an exceptional talent. You've got Mateus Joseph, Sonny Perkins, who are playing for their internationals, playing for their countries, England, international level. You've got Darko JB. Brendan Rodgers might genuinely look at Leeds United as a really attractive prospect. So, but I'm with Harry here. There's no way he drops down. I just don't see it. I don't see how he would agree to drop to the Championship. This is Brendan Rodgers that's been in Champions League with Leicester, nearly won the league with Liverpool, won the Scottish Premier League with Celtic. I just don't see how he says yes to us, even if it is, as high as I hold up my football club. I don't see how Brendan Rodgers drops to the EFL. But we'll have a read of what the article said. What's the latest Leeds manager news then? So they search for another manager. And Phil Hayes said, look, should they go down, recently sacked Leicester manager Brendan Rodgers is likely to come into the equation, at least in terms of the sort of coach they would want. Whether Rodgers is open to working in the EFL again, having led Swansea City up from in 2011 is another matter altogether. Then my good friend, reacting to the update, All Leeds TV presenter Oscar Mario took to Twitter. This was it. He said, Rodgers with the sporting director would be absolutely perfect for the rebuild. Doubts about his longevity beyond 2 to 3 seasons are fair, but I honestly couldn't care less at this point about that. Look at his first 1 to 2 seasons success-wise at every club he has been at since 2010-ish. So there you go. That was Oscar's thoughts on it. I think we can all sit here and agree that if Brendan Rodgers was willing to come, we would take him in a heartbeat. He would be the highest profile manager in the Championship with one of the best teams in the Championship that will still have some Premier League quality players in it, have some great youth prospects coming through. I think we come back at the first time of asking if you can bring in someone of that ilk, whether or not he'd agree to come down. Again, it's all about who sells the project. Whatever you say about Scott Parker would not be all right. Scott Parker would not be all right, the Bielsa stand. Scott Parker is rubbish. So, yeah, he's rubbish. Oscar can't believe he wants Rodgers. Yeah, it looks like he'd be up for. I mean, why wouldn't you want Rodgers? Who could make an argument for not having Rodgers in the Championship as Leeds United? Like, I'd love to know what your argument is against that. Because, yeah, he coaches players. Brendan Rodgers does make players better for sure. 100%. That's within his wheelhouse. Stephen says Rodgers managed Scotland, so yes, he would drop to the Championship. Yeah, but bro, we're talking Celtic here, mate. You know what I mean? They're a huge club. Come on now. I'd take Michael Carrick. Yeah. No, listen, Scott Parker's no good, bro. Scott Parker's no good. You need someone as well. This is what I mean. We need to be thinking with a bit of longevity. Yes, Scott Parker might have got Fulham up. Yes, Scott Parker might have got Bournemouth up. But what happened when he came up? Sacked. Done. There's no point in that. You know, he's been at Club Bruges, done rubbish there. I don't think he's any good. Fulham and Bournemouth both have very good squads as well. So yeah, nah. Rodgers has a tendency to lose the dressing room. Why is that? Yeah, there is issues there, but I think like Oscar was making his point about first 1 or 2 seasons, they're phenomenal. Here's what it is. We move, right? I would take Carlos Corberán. I'd take Rafa Benitez. But listen, before any of this happens, it's all just like we just don't know, do we? We just don't know until we know, if that makes sense. But I would definitely be on board with signing Brendan Rodgers. Yeah, if we could. Clive, I don't know who's banning you. Please stop banning Clive. As long as he's not using expletives at people, just don't be banning him. Just let him go off on one. He's having, it is what it is. See, why wouldn't you want Rafa? I genuinely am surprised at some people. Damn James Nard, tell me. I know a lot of people think he'd rip it up, but he's no good. Plus, he's on a lot of money. I think we just need to cut our losses on that one. Rafa, no thanks, he's all for himself. What do you mean? What does that even mean, Danny? How do you know he's all for himself? Do you know him personally? They love him up in Newcastle. I'm not sure that's correct, mate. Does anyone think we could go cheap and keep Carl Robinson? Nah. Not for me. I think we need to go with someone who's going to play a certain brand. Jordan here. Jordan, good question. He says, Joe, why do you think Rodgers won't drop to the EFL? There are no prime. Yeah, but they will be. This season was the most manager sackings ever, right? So I think he would wait. Because jobs will come available. If the Spurs appointment, right? If Spurs get slot on, or whoever they get, if it goes tits up, they'll come on Rodgers' door. 100%. Other clubs will look to Brendan Rodgers. I genuinely think that. George making a good point here about his talent ID. All the signings he signed at Leicester all flopped. When we gave him full control of his signings, we'll maybe get that director of football. Please, no. No, you just, no, Chris Wilder, no. Give over Eddie Lowy. Come on now. He took Leicester to the Champions League, bro. Yeah, it's gone tits up, but it's more so because they didn't give him money this summer. They sold Fofana and players of this ilk and then gave him nothing. And it did go tits up, but I'm not having that. No, I'm not having it. He nearly won a league title with Liverpool, man. Don't want Vieira. I do not want Vieira coming. Vieira would come. I don't want him. I'd have no problem. I guarantee you that Vieira would come for sure. Yeah. Great, Carlos. Tell them, bro. Tell them. FA Cup. No, Simon Grayson's not a possibility. He's managing in India, bro. Nah. Celtic manager won't come. I don't see a Celtic manager coming to the Championship. Definitely not. Iriola won't come either, just because he was Orta's guy. I don't think that would happen. Let's have a look. Do you know what though? Yeah, Jan Vestergaard was a good buy at the time. Yeah, it went tits up, but come on, man, he was scoring every week for Southampton. Patson Daka was a good player. Somari, we were also linked with. Admittedly, it hasn't worked, but a lot of players that come from League 1, very rarely do well. Jose Perez, fair enough. I found that a bit strange at the time, but I think a lot of people would have taken Patson Daka at the time. I think you're being a little bit unfair. But I get it, it's your football club, so you know more than me with that stuff. Gallardo's not coming, is he, to the Championship? No Lampard or Gerrard, no. But Vestergaard was a disaster, but was good at the time anyway. But yeah, listen, it's going to be interesting, innit? We'll have to wait and see what unfolds. Look, tomorrow is press conference day, or will it be Friday? It might not be press conference day. I've got an opposition preview at 6 o'clock with Matt Hayes. We'll do another one of these on a night, as I say. You know, the late night Leeds show will be here every night, 10 o'clock, between 10 and 11, there or thereabouts. So yeah, keep it locked at the Just Joe Football Show. Hopefully, can someone explain the Potter thing? What do you mean, like Graham Potter, Clive? He's a top coach. He's a top coach. So we'll have to wait and see. Anyway, I'm rambling now, and I need some sleep. Are you whispering, Joe? I'm not being as loud as normal because my little boy's here tonight. And he's just in the other room. So yeah, I did buy him a new sand pit earlier on, like a pirate ship sand pit, and I was like, yeah, I got it home. I can't build it. I genuinely can't build it. So, Joe, will you still do match streams if we go down? Yes, I will. So he was kicking off earlier because I couldn't build it. So my friend's coming to help me build it tomorrow. Clive T, yes, he wasn't terrible at Chelsea, though. He wasn't terrible at Chelsea, and he was great at Brighton. Honestly, man. Some is what it is. Football's about opinions, isn't it? Football is about opinions. Sunday kickoff is 4:30. 63% of people think that he would drop down to the Championship. I hope you're right. I'm not too sure he will. So the presser is tomorrow for Sunday, is it? Did someone say? If that's the case, I'll be live during the day for the presser as well. Joe, let's not rewrite history. Let's have a look. I just want to check Leeds United just to see if it's been scheduled. Let's have a look. Oh, it has, yeah. Tomorrow. We will be live tomorrow, folks. We will be live for the press conference reaction at around about 2:30, I'd imagine. And then I'll be live at 6 o'clock for the opposition preview, and then I'll be live on the evening as well. So that's 3. No, presser's Friday, 26th. It's 25th tomorrow. It's 25th tomorrow, not 26th. Oh, no, yeah, it's Friday. Ignore me. Yeah, anyway, we move. Smash a like on the video. Thanks as always for watching. Please do smash a like, subscribe to the channel, get your comments in, and of course hit that notification bell, and I'll see you all tomorrow at 6 o'clock. If indeed something happens during the day, I will be live. If not, it'll be 6. And then I'll also be back tomorrow in the evening as well. So thanks always for watching, and I'll see you on the other side, peeps.
Are you ready?
Wrong one, man. Can't end it with that. That just don't make sense, does it? Let's end it with... this is my favourite right now. We're going to have to end it with this. Peace out, folks.